Hey guys, it's Jenny here, and today I have my February wrap-up for you guys. For this month, I was actually really consistent with January as well. I read 6 books in January, and I read 6 books in February, despite February being the shortest month. So, hopefully my reading continues on the trend that it's at, or I wouldn't be mad if it went above the trend that it's at either. So I will actually be going in order of the books that I read this month. It seems like forever ago that I read these, but in reality, like, they were all in a 28-day span. And that's what's so weird, because, like, February feels like it's been so long, but in reality, it hasn't been. Anyways, the first book I read this month was Walk on Earth a Stranger by Ray Carson. This is a historical fantasy, and it is about this girl named Leah Westfall who has the ability to sense gold, and it sort of sings to her. Her senses are able to tell her where to locate and find gold. This is a power that people would covet, especially since this is set in the time of the gold rush. When her parents are murdered for having the ability, she goes on the run and takes on the alias as Lee Westfall to find her way to California, to find her way west. So this is all about her journey and, you know, like how she escapes and what happens. And this was honestly such an interesting book. One of the genres I think I filmed in one of my videos, I said that I swore off historical fiction of any sort. But this book was like one of the ones that kind of brought me over to the historical fiction side. So I'm pretty sure I gave this book like a 4 or 4.5 out of 5 stars. I don't really remember all of it, but I have a more detailed review of it in my Goodreads. So yes, this was the first book I read. The second book I read this month was Cruel Beauty by Rosamund Hodge. This was inspired by Beauty and the Beast, and this is centered on a girl named Nyx, who, ever since she has been born, she's been betrothed to this demon king, or prince, or whatever. Yeah, she's been betrothed to this evil ruler of their kingdom ever since birth, and she plans to seduce him and then kill him, and yada yada yada. Marry him, seduce him, then kill him, break the curse on her people. But then he, charms her, and his kingdom with magical rooms, she's totally captivated by it. This honestly was such a weird story. Like, yeah, I finished it, and like I didn't really think that when I first started reading this, but like now that I finished it, it's so weird. Like, it's a unique concept, but it was just so out there and so different from what I've read. It's like kind of, I don't even know. Like, the character relationships were just weird, and the plot was just weird, and I still don't really fully understand the story. So, once again, I gave a fully detailed review of this on my Goodreads. I believe I ended up giving this like a 3 out of 5 stars on my Goodreads. I don't really remember. But I know that when I wrapped this up in a reading vlog, I ended up rating it really high. But no, I take it back. But yeah, there's a bigger review on this on my Goodreads. I didn't hate it. I'm just starting to dislike it now that I've read it. Like, I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it. So, yeah. The third book I read in February was Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. I actually read this during a readathon, and I just loved this. This is centered on an assassin named Selena Sardathian. She is in the kind of prison camp. It's called Endovier, and she's imprisoned there when she gets broken out by the Crown Prince of Aderland. and she's broken out to be a competitor in the, I think it's just, yeah, she gets broken out of her enslavement to compete in this contest to be the king's champion, which is basically just the king's personal assassin. She has to defeat 23 thieves, liars, and murderers in order to become his champion. And if she does, after 4 years of servitude, she will be free. So in this competition, it's going fine. She's doing training, but then something dark happens and her competitors start dying off one by one. And she's starting to think that it's going to be coming for her. So she, her fight for freedom, she starts fighting for survival instead. She's kind of the one that has to root out the evil before it destroys, like, everything. And this was such a good book. I think afterwards I'm gonna be giving this like a 4 or 4.5 out of 5 stars. I think I did give a review to this on Goodreads as well. When I started my Goodreads, I was on, I had just finished this. So I'm pretty sure I reviewed every single book I've read in 2018 so far and wrote like reviews on them on Goodreads. But I will have my Goodreads link down below, and the username is always in my channel description if you want to go check it out. But yes, I read Throne of Glass. So the fourth book I read this month was Crown of Midnight by Sarah J. Maas, which is the sequel to Throne of Glass. Needless to say, I can't really go into much description about what this is about because it's a sequel. But guys, this blew me away. I loved this book so much. Like, it's kind of like Court of Mist and Fury. It's a sequel that I completely fell in love with solely because I feel like Sarah J. Maas dedicates her second books in the series to more character development and relationship building, and I feel like that's so important. It just builds the story in the series, and it just makes me love the characters even more and get attached to them. And so many things happened in the story that had me crying, angry, gushing, awing, just everything possible. And it just enthralled me the whole time. I couldn't put this book down. I was just whipping through the pages. So I ended up giving this book a 5 out of 5 stars. I don't remember. I'm pretty sure I have a review for this on Goodreads as well. I don't remember writing it, but I'm pretty sure there is, considering I have reviewed mostly everything I read in 2018 so far. Yes, I read Crown of Midnight and completely adored it. I am going to be reading Heir of Fire in March. I'm trying to space it out so, like I don't completely devour all of the Throne of Glass books and then suddenly I have nothing to read. So the fifth book I read in February was an Enchantment of Ravens by Margaret Rogerson. This is centered on a painter named Isabel. The Fae folk in this world, they envy human craft because they themselves are not able to produce human craft. If they were to try to do anything revolving around human craft that goes like cooking, writing, or not necessarily, writing, cooking, writing, reading, not reading, well, kind of, painting, drawing, anything, they will start to, crumble. So the Fae folk, they cherish human craft, and so the humans in this world are all skilled in some way, and so in payment they get enchantments from the Fae, in payment for their work. So this centers around a exquisite painter that everybody knows named Isabel. She just creates stunning portraits of all of the immortals that come to her. The immortals, they can't bake bread, put pen to paper, and if they do that, they will crumble to dust. They trade valuable enchantments for her paintings. She receives her first royal patron, which his name is Rook, and he happens to be the Autumn Prince. The only problem is she makes a deadly mistake. She paints mortal sorrow in his eyes. The Fae are supposed to be emotionless, and she paints him with mortal emotion. And so this is a consequence punishable by death. So he takes her to his court, which no human has ever survived before, to stand trial. But then, they kind of find themselves barricaded in by all forces trying to kill them. So they set off on this adventure, and they develop sort of a relationship along the way, which is also illegal. So, they're kind of just outlaws in general, and everybody hates them because, mortal sorrow than falling in love with the Fae. This was such a good book, guys. The only complaint I have is that it was going a little too fast the whole time. I don't remember what I gave this book rating-wise, but I'm pretty sure I didn't. I think I gave this like a 4 or 4 out of 5 stars. It was a really good book. I just think it could have been longer, and I wish it had a map so that it was easier for me to imagine the world. But overall, this was a really good book, and I would recommend it to you, especially if you're looking for a void to fill after finishing the Throne, or after finishing the Court of Thorns and Roses series. Finally, this is actually a book I haven't completely finished, but I'm deciding to put it in my February wrap-up anyways, considering I read over 400 pages of it during February. It wouldn't seem very fair. But that is Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. Once again, I tried to fill the void with reading other Fae books. It didn't work, so I'm just going to reread my favorite in the series. I love this book so much, guys. This is easily a 5 out of 5 stars every single time. I just can't even explain. Like I was saying with Crown Midnight, I feel like Sarah J. Maas, I feel like she designates her second books to never-ending character development and just relationship building. And I just love that about her work, because it, like, the second book in the series always gets me completely enthralled with the characters. Like, I feel like the first book, introduces you to the story, to the world, and the second book really gets you attached to the characters, and that's something I really admire about her work. I just love everything about this. I love the world, I love the characters, especially in this book. And the story in this book is just everything. So many things happen. There's political aspects, there's romantic aspects, there's fun aspects, there's negative aspects. I just love this book so much, and so much happens. I could reread this book a million times over and still not get tired of it, and I am meaning that as sincerely as possible. And I'm actually planning to, once Court of Wings and Ruin comes out in paperback, I plan to purchase that in paperback. And since I have the first book and the second book in paperback, I plan to annotate the paperback editions and keep my hardcovers nice and pristine. I've seen a lot of people trending with annotating their books lately, and I've never really had an urge to do so until I read these books more times than one. I have had books that I've reread in the past, but I haven't had like the deepest love and admiration for the series as I do with Sarah J. Maas's series. Mainly this one in particular. I like Throne of Glass, I love Throne of Glass, but not as much as I will ever love this series. So, once that comes out in paperback, I do plan to annotate my paperback editions of Court of Thorns and Roses series. All I need right now is the hardcover edition of Court of Thorns and Roses and the paperback edition of Court of Wings and Ruin, and then the rereading and annotating begins. Well, I mean, I also need like little annotation stamps and like book highlighters, but that's besides the point. So, yes, this is also in my wrap-up. 10 out of 5 stars. Love this book so much. If you have not read Sarah J. Maas's Court of Thorns and Roses yet by now, first of all, what are you doing? Second of all, you need to pick up this series, guys. I will never hesitate to just shove this book into somebody's hands. Maybe not my copies because, they could get ruined. But I will never hesitate to just shove this book in everybody's faces and tell them to read it. I will never hesitate to do that. So yes, this is my conclusion for my February wrap-up. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope that my reading continues going at the pace that it's going, because if it did, that'd be great. Yes, but thank you guys for watching. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Hit the bell if you'd like to be notified when I post new content. And as always, feel free to comment down below. I do love talking to you all. I'm also leaving my email link below if you have any questions you'd like to ask me directly. So yes, thank you guys. I hope you enjoyed.